the key to this lesson in this program, we're going to be building on the brain screen printing and shape making. We're also going to be using looping, and we're going to be using variables. The new thing, or looping and functions, which we've done all of that before. The new thing is variables. Okay, we have to figure out a way to count instances of bumping. So, or any real variable or any real sensor that we have to be able to count whether something has occurred or not. So don't worry too much if you have PTSD from a math class in your past life or in the past year or something like that. Don't worry too much. All a variable is a word or letter that stores it a number. Okay. This is really important, guys. A variable is a word or letter that will store a number. Okay. There are different types of variables. Let's look at each one. The first one is float, and I lied to you. I think we used float yesterday, and I said it had 15 decimal places. It only has 7 decimal places. It can be positive, negative, or it can be 0, but it's a decimal number. There's another one called double. It's very similar, except the difference is instead of 7 decimal places, it can store up to 15 decimal places, which seems ludicrous and crazy, but some things need a lot of precision, right? Honestly, for our class and for robotics in general, you can get away with float just fine. Float represents 7 decimal places. The other one that you can use that we will be using today are integer variables. So integers are whole numbers. Think of it like this. If you can count with it, it's an integer. Like negative 157, negative 2, 0, 1, 87, 1,258. These are all integers. If you played basketball or soccer or some other sport, most of the time, points are scored with whole numbers, right? We like to use integers for a score many times. We are going to be using integer variable for counting the bumps because you can't have half of a bump, can you? You can have either a full bump or no bump. So that's perfect. So we're going to be using integers to count bumps. You might find that your arcade game, you might need a decimal. And I would recommend just using float. You don't really need to use double. Float will be fine for what we have to do. So everybody right now, I'd like you to go into VEX Code. If you haven't done so already, come up to the top. You should have a blank C++ program, and we're going to call this one player bump game. Okay, and hit save, and then save it somewhere in your Google Drive. In your Google Drive. So here's my Google Drive folder with the programs we've written so far. I'm going to save it as one player bump game, and we hit save. In VEX Code, I want you to right away come up here to the device screen and add a bumper. So come down to 3-wire, add your bumper. I'm just going to put port A. And we're going to call it, instead of bumper A, like I said before, it's not a great thing to name it that. Let's just call it bump sends for now. You could name it whatever you want. You could name it Gianni if you wanted to, or you could name it, don't do that. You can name it, Mr. Mawson, whatever, but it needs to be one word. Hit done. Okay. All right. So now in our sensing, we have the bumper pressing, true or false over here, and we're ready to start coding. All right. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to come up here above int main, and we are going to make our first function. Call it void. We'll call it starting screen. Okay. Double parentheses, open curly. Gentlemen, you got to lock in, because this is honestly this is how most people structure their games. So this is going to be a great opportunity for you to learn how to make a game. So in many games, think of like old school, any real video game, but any game, you usually have some sort of like opening welcome screen, right? That says the name of the game or player 1, player 2, whatever, right? That's kind of what we're doing here. We're going to make a function for our opening screen. So here's what I'd like you to do. Go to looks. And I want you to set your cursor, instead of 1, 1, set it to 1, 5. So we're going to push the text out a little bit on the screen. I'd like you to change the font from Mono 20. We're going to make it a little bit bigger. We're going to call it Mono 30. And we're going to print something on our welcome screen. Instead of printing Vex code, we're going to print welcome to the bump game. Exclamation point. Okay? Because we want to greet our bumpers. Now, we could hit new line if we wanted to, but instead of doing a new line for different text, I'm just going to move the cursor. You know what this is kind of like? This is kind of like if you have a mouse and you just click somewhere on your document to type somewhere else. So we're going to move the cursor instead of 1, 1, we're going to move it to 3, 7. So it's going to move it out a little bit. Now, I want to really get the player super excited about the bumping that's going to happen. To do that, video game designers increase font sizes usually to really get people excited. So let's go Mono 40 to get them totally amped up. And we're going to say below welcome to the bump game, we're going to say bump to begin. Okay. And guess what? That is our starting screen. We are done with our first function. To make another function, this is going to be the function once we have like we hit the bumper one time and it'll start the game. This is the function of actually like playing the game. Okay. So we're going to say void. We're going to call it game play. Okay. Double parentheses, open curly. And now we're going to, this is the main function of our bumper game. Now, we're not going to write the entire function at once. We're going to write a part of it, and we're going to go to int main, write a little code, and we're going to come back to our game function. Does that make sense? So we're going to start it. Let's just start it by clearing the screen, because we have the welcome screen on there right now. We don't want the welcome screen on there. We want a fresh screen. So grab your, you know what, I haven't been really putting in comments here, but that's okay. If you guys have questions, could you just let me know, okay? And then I'll put comments in maybe later. But I'm just so excited about bumping. So let's go. Let's go ahead and move our cursor. So we're gonna move this cursor over. Instead of 1, 1, we're gonna do 1, 12. And then we're gonna go ahead and we're going to print some text, and we're going to say bump away. Okay. Now, it should be the same size as the bump to begin. It's going to stay as Mono 40 because we haven't changed the text size at all. So it'll be kind of bigger. It'll be like medium sized. Okay. For now, we're going to put in a wait time because we're going to be testing our program a little bit. Everybody wait 1 second. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a comment and just say temporary wait time. Remove later. We're going to get rid of this wait time later. But it's really good when you're coding not to try to write the whole program and then see if it works. Why? Why is it a good idea not to write your entire program and then see if it works? Efren. Yeah, if something's messed up, it's easier to find your bug in your code if you haven't written the whole program yet. So we're going to put a little wait time in there. Something else that I actually want to do, and this is something you're going to have to kind of trust me on here. It's in sensing. Let's go to clear our timer. Okay, so I'm going to put that above the wait time. Here's why. The timer has started running when? right when the welcome screen comes on, right when we hit play on our brain, we want to wait until someone is actually ready to play it before we start the timer again. Okay, does that make sense? So we want a fresh timer here as well before they actually start bumping the bumper. Okay, all right, any questions so far? Are we good so far? Give me a thumbs up if you're like, so far I follow, Mr. Rawson, all good. You got 2 functions. Good, yeah, all right. So now we're going to go away from the gameplay function. We will come back to it. So, oops, just delete the bracket. We will come back to it, but we're going to jump into int main, and we're going to do a little work in int main. Okay, and we're going to come back to the gameplay function, because right now this is a pretty lame game. It just has a welcome screen, and it says bump away for 1 second. That's kind of the idea. But let's go ahead and make this lame version of the game, and then we'll make it fun. In your int main, we are going to start by calling our starting screen function. The starting screen function is basically finished. We don't need to do anything with this. It's done. So we can go ahead and we can take, I always like coming up here, taking the starting screen and the name of the function and the double parentheses, just copy it and then paste it. Because if you accidentally misspelled something or the capitalization is wrong, it won't work. So go ahead and just throw this in here and then put a comment in that says run the starting display. Okay. Now, you're not really going to turn this into me, the code into me. You're putting these comments in so that later, when you make an arcade game, you understand why we did what we did. These comments are for your future self. So if you want, go ahead and put a little comment in that says, hello, future self. If you think that's lame, don't do it. All right. So before we go any farther, I kind of missed something here. We need to basically, when we start the program, we want it to always be looping. We want to be able to play the game, and when the game is over, go back to the starting screen. So what we're going to do, here's the thing. We don't want to have to like go back to the brain and hit start every time we do the bump game. We want to just like do the bump game, see our score, and then do the bump game again without having to worry about turning it back on. That calls for an infinite loop. So go ahead and grab a while loop, put it at the very beginning of int main. I probably should have did this at first, but I didn't. So I apologize. We need to make an infinite loop, okay? This is the infinite loop. So we don't have to restart the brain. Now take inside that infinite loop, you're going to go ahead and throw in the starting screen function, because that's the first thing in our kind of our loop of playing one cycle of the game. We want the starting screen to be the very first thing every time. Okay. Now, we're going to have the starting screen there. And what we're going to do is we're going to throw in another while loop. Okay. Now, hopefully I don't lose you here, but just kind of take it a little bit at a time. We have an infinite while loop. Actually, I'm going to go like this. We got an infinite while loop right here. Okay. Inside of that while loop, we have another while loop. What I'd like you to do is put an exclamation point before the condition. That means not. Okay. So what I'd like to do is to say, while the bumper is not being pressed, stall, kind of hang out, just show the starting screen. So we're going to we're going to get rid of condition. And inside of here, we're going to pull in our bumper. Okay. So find bumper pressing and put it right next to the exclamation point like this. And this is going to be, we're going to put a little wait time in here as well. Okay. We're going to come over here. We're going to say wait. We're going to wait for a split second. We're going to wait for 100th of a second, 0.01 seconds. Okay. So trying to get this formatted nice so it looks good. Okay. So what this means is while the bumper is not being pressed, stall for a bit of time. Okay, so 100 times a second, the brain is going to be checking the bumper to see if it's being pressed. It's kind of like a happy puppy waiting for you to get home. It's been waiting all day. And the moment you touch the doorknob, the dog freaks out because he knows you're home, right? So that's what's happening here. It's going to be looping here until you hit the bumper. And then once that happens, we can move away from the starting screen. So we do the starting screen will just stay there, and we will just stall in this loop until somebody presses the bumper. Okay? Give me a thumbs up if that's cool. If you got a question, please raise your hand and ask it, because somebody else is probably thinking it. You guys good? Yes? Okay, thank you. All right. So once we hit the bumper, this will be false, right? Once we hit the bumper, not press the bumper will be false. And then we can jump in and we can play our game. That's what I want to do. I want to bump. So we're going to run our gameplay function. So I'm going to take what I named it. I named it gameplay with a capital P. I'm going to pull it down here. I'm going to make sure that it's after my stalling, waiting for a player. And I'm going to put it right there. And now it's time to play the game. Okay? So here's what's kind of cool, guys. We have completed int main. Isn't that crazy? Think about this. We completed int main. Int main is like this. We have an infinite loop right here. That's the infinite loop. Okay. What happens in your infinite loop? First, we run the welcome screen. Then we wait. We stall in this loop. Actually, let me rewrite that. This loop until a player comes along and hits the bumper. Then the game is played. And then what happens? Goes back up and it shows the starting screen again, just like an arcade game. Beautiful, right? So this is like the idea of like running your program the int main shouldn't have a ton of stuff in it. When you guys write your arcade games and you're like, Mr. Boston, I have an error and I can't find it. I'll come around and I'll look at your int main. It should have functions in it. I'm hoping we can debug the functions, not debug int main. Because your int main should be pretty simple. Your functions are what get kind of detailed and complicated. Make sense? Okay. So I think we're at the point where we can try to run this. It'll be a very lame game. It's going to have what? It's going to have the welcome screen. And then when you hit the bumper to start, it's just going to show bump away for 1 second. And then it's going to go back to the welcome screen. But we got to make sure that our program is working before we kind of move on. So right now, I want you to go ahead and run this. Make sure it's working. Show me, and then we'll get back and we'll write the rest of the program. Okay, we missed one little thing, and it's up here. After we run the game, we have to go back and clear the screen. So we have to come over here and find in looks. And we have to say clear screen right at the beginning of our starting screen. This is good practice anyways. Always clear the screen at the beginning of the function. So this is the one we missed because it's going to run the game. The gameplay still be on it. And then I guess you could put the clear screen down here if you wanted. But I kind of like putting it at the beginning of the function. So do that and then show me your bump game. Okay, so the mistake that Caden caught, and I'd never hit build. Like also you can hit build and it'll show your errors. So it's going to tell me I got an error right here. And you can see, hey, where's the semicolon? So I got to put it in there and then hit build and I'm good to go. All right. So we have a game. It's a lame game. It's kind of dumb. This is where we're going to add some complexity. So follow me here and do your best to keep going with this. If you get a little lost, it's okay. All right. So we need it. Our int main is done. We're done with this. We're not going to do anything with int main. We need to go up and we need to make gameplay amazing. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get rid of the wait time because we said it was just temporary, just so we can see that our program was working. right here, I'm going to put a comment because this is really important. Clear the timer to 0 at beginning of game. Okay. Now, put another comment down here. This is kind of a crucial point of our function. We're going to create a variable that is an integer. Remember, integers are there are numbers that you count with, whole numbers. -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way in each direction into infinity. No decimals. Okay. So put another comment, say, and make its starting value equal to 0. So we're going to give it a value of 0 to start with. The way we do it is we write int. Int is for integer. Okay. We're going to call it bump count. And we're going to set it to 0 and then put a semicolon. Okay. So in math class, what's your favorite variable? N, X? Are you a Y person? Oh, I know that Evelyn's a V naught person, right? V with a little 0. I know that, right? Okay. Guess what? In coding, we can make an entire word a variable. And that's what we just did. Bump count is the variable. It's equal to 0 at the beginning of our function. Now, listen, when you use an equals, it's like resetting the value. It's not an equation. We're basically just saying it's going to be equal to 0 right now. What is your favorite variable? Yes, a double equals means that it's in an equation. This is just saying this equal means that we're just assigning it a value. Okay. All right. Here's another really important thing. Put a little parenthesis, little comment here. This variable is a local. Actually, I'm not. Why am I yelling this? This variable is a local variable. So, Vaughn or Owen, what is a local variable? Do you guys know? That's right. So listen, guys, this is important. I had a team last year who messed this up in their arcade game. It took them a week and a half to figure it out. A local variable means that you created the variable in the function. Therefore, it can only be used in the function. But Mr. Mostyn, what if I wanted to use bump count in more than one function? What you would do is instead you would put it, and I'm just don't do this, just look. I'd put it outside of the variable of the functions up here. Do you see that? This right here would be a global variable. That means you could use it in any function. So my team last year, what they did was they had theirs as a local variable, not like this. And they wanted to use that number for a final score. And they couldn't get their final score to show because their final score is a separate function. And the variable was introduced in a different function. Now, listen, guys, we're only going to use bump count in gameplay. So this is fine putting it here. Okay. Just be aware of that because and keep it in the back of your mind for when you're making a bunch of variables when you're in your arcade game. Okay. So after we've created our local variable that can only be used in gameplay, we are going to go ahead and jump over to control. Pull yourself a while loop in. Right there. Perfect. Okay, this is not going to be a infinite while loop. We are going to make this while loop only when the timer is less than 10 seconds old. Okay. Look what we did right up here. See this thing? We have literally just reset the timer back to 0. And the timer is going to start counting upwards. So this is where you get to set how long you want your game to last for. Okay. I'm going to set my game to only last for 10 seconds. Here's how we do it. 10 seconds of bumping. Otherwise, you end up with cramps in your triceps, and I have to send you to the nurse because you bumped it so much that your arm cramps up. So we're going to go to this down here. Brain timer, time, seconds. Okay? That is a number. While the timer is less than 10 seconds, loop inside of here. Okay? So I need, right in here, we need to make a comment above this. Only let the bumping happen. I don't know if we say bumping. The game loop for 10 seconds. Okay. This is kind of another stalling technique, right? We are not letting the code keep going until 10 seconds is over. So this is where we get to write how we're going to count our bumping. Okay. So in your loop here, here's what we're going to do. Grab your variable, bump count, copy and paste it. And we're going to put an equal sign in. What we're going to do, wait, just kidding. Never mind. I jumped the gun here. Don't do that. Instead, I want to move the cursor again because we just wrote bump away and we wrote it on the first line of code. We have to move our cursor. So throw that down here, please. Throw your cursor at 3.8. Put it at 3.8. Okay. And then we're going to put the line of text under there. And here's where we get to be a little fancy with this. We're going to write, you've got %d bumps. Okay. Exclamation point. The %d means an integer, a number, a whole number. Okay. If I want it, so we're going to put the score in here. Okay. The bump count. So what we're going to do is we're going to say comma bump count. Okay. And what happens here is it takes %d and it inserts the integer for bump count. Okay. Now, have we told it to start counting how many bumps yet? No. All we've done is say show the score. What is the score going to be if we ran this? 0, because we haven't actually started bumping or counting bumps yet. Okay. So, but the thing is, we are going to loop here, right? This thing is going to go, it's going to keep looping for 10 seconds until the timer goes from 0 to 10. So this is, remember, we're going to keep looping here. It's going to keep printing the score. Okay. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put an if statement in. Okay. We're still inside of the while loop. All right. And we're going to throw an if in. Now this is the if for if you hit the bumper. Okay. So what we get to do is we get to come down here. We get to put, instead of condition, the condition we're looking for is, did the bumper get pressed, right? Is the bumper being pressed? Okay. This up here, I'm going to put another comment in above this. Show the score of how many bumps. Oops, not dips. That's bumps. There we go. Okay. Okay. So our trigger for our if statement is only run the if statement. Only run the code that we put here if the bumper is being pressed. If not, skip it and go down here and then loop back up and show the score again. Update the score. Okay. All right. So here's how we update the score if you bumped it. So what we're going to do is we're going to say the score, which is called bump count. Right? We made that score. Where was it? We made it up here, right? See it? So that score, we're going to say, we're going to give it a new value. Because guess what? we've just pressed the bump and the brain has realized it. We just pressed the bumper. So we're going to say, whatever the score is now, make the score equal to that plus 1. Right. So in this case, the very first time you press the bumper, it's going to be 0, or the bump count, I'm sorry, bump count is going to be equal to 0 plus 1. And guess what? If you loop back around and you bump it again, instead of 0 plus 1, it's going to be the new bump count value is going to be the old value, 1 plus 1, which is going to be 2, right? And that's how we add to the score every time we loop through. This is where I start losing people. Who has questions right now? Give me, please, please, please. Because you've got to understand this if you're going to make an arcade game. Because you're going to have to show a score. Who has questions? We got this so far? You good? Give me a thumbs up if so far you got it. Give thumbs aside if you got a little question maybe that you might want to ask. Good? Okay. I'm seeing reluctant okays here. All right. We're going to press on then. So put a comment in here that says add 1 to the bump count variable. Variable. There we go. And this is a nice kind of point here. Hold on a second. Oh, was I not recording? The thing we have to do is we have to, after 10 seconds are up, which is right here, right? This while loop that's right here. Okay, this while loop right here will only run while the brain timer is below 10 seconds, right? So what do you have to do at the end of 10 seconds? You want to stop the game, right? But before we stop the game, don't we want to show the final score? Okay, so that's the last thing we really have to do here before we can try this, is we have to make sure, please, 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 go up to your while loop, click by the bracket, find where the end of the while bracket is, and I want you to put a little comment that says end of 10-second round of the bump game. Or if you did 30 seconds, whatever, you know. This is just a nice little mile marker so we know the bump game is now over. We're still in our gameplay function. And now over here, we want to say display the final score. Okay. That's what we're going to do down here. So let's make this nice. It has been saying you've got this many bumps as you've been bumping it. Let's clear the screen. Okay. Now, just because we cleared the screen, does our score go away? Is our score gone? I mean, it's off the screen. So did it disappear? Vaughn, where is our score? Yes, we've saved it, that data, as the variable. We can access it even if it goes off the screen. We can access it whenever we want. We don't even, well, I'll leave it at that, okay? So we clear the brain screen, set the cursor back to 1, 1, and we're going to print the score. And we're going to say your score was %D bumps. Okay? And then we have to tell it what %D is. Because once we put the % in there, we're telling Vex that this is not a word or text that to print out. It's a number. Well, what number is it? It's the number after the comma. Okay, so the number after the comma is going to be our variable, which, what was our variable again? Bump count, right? So we'll put it in here, bump count. Okay. By the way, guys, we have to show this for like a few seconds so people can read it, right? So what I'd like you to do is put a wait time in here. Let's show the final score for 5 seconds. And then guess what? It ends the gameplay function, and in int main, it'll loop back up and it'll go to starting screen. And in starting screen, it will clear the screen for us, right? Where's starting screen? It'll clear the screen off and then say, welcome to the bump game again. Now, here's the deal. This, if you followed me for the last 35 minutes, this will work. But there is one flaw that we need to fix tomorrow. And we'll see if you guys are good cheaters, then you can figure out what the flaw is. And there's a fix. Yep, you see, Andrew's the best cheater here. We'll fix that flaw tomorrow. But see if you can get this to work, and see if you can. Yeah, we'll do it tomorrow. We'll fix. All right, here's where we're at. Our bump sensor game was going crazy because it's right in here. Okay. This is the if statement that allows us to add to our bump count variable. Okay. Now, if we just press it, it's going to add to the bump count variable. How quickly can it add to that bump variable? Well, as quickly as we can loop, right? So if we look here, is this the only loop? That's the loop that's happening, right? So how quick can we loop? Like 100 times a second? That's why it was looping. We were getting those scores going up so quickly. You were actually seeing how many loops happen. That's kind of cool when you think about it. Just if you hold it down, it goes up 400. That means it looped 400 times. When you think of it that way, you're like, yeah, that's kind of cool, right? But it's not cool if we're actually trying to get a high score for the bump game, like a legit high score. So here's what we have to fix. So this is a little tricky, but here's what I need you to do. In between if the bumper is being pressed and what we want to do, if that's true, I want you to hit a couple enters, okay? We need to do something before we add 1 to the count. And I want you to think about this here for a second. If I had a ginormous bumper in front of me, how would we know if I bumped it 1 time? It's actually 2 movements, isn't it? It's push the bumper down and then let it go, right? So to actually get a +1 in this game, you have to do 2 things. You have to push it down and let it go. So we need to code that in. Right now, we just have the what? The push it down. We need to code in the let it go. So here's how we're going to do that. We're going to say, if the bumper is pressed, run the following. Okay, and we're going to jump in there. We're going to put a while loop inside of our if statement. Now, here's what I would do if I were you. Just to make yourself not going crazy here, kind of tab it out a little bit so that way it's a little easier to see that this while loop will only run if the bump sensor is pressed, right? Check it out. Our if statement only runs if it's pressed. And if it's pressed, we want to now start checking to see when it's released. So here's how we do it. While the bumper is being pressed, we're going to wait a little bit. So we're going to say, hey, is the bumper still being pressed? Right? We want to loop here while the bumper is being pushed down. Okay. In fact, how can I do this a little bit easier? I'm going to put this comment above it so I can see it. If you could fit it in the code next to it, that's fine too. But basically, we want to loop or stall here, okay, while the bumper is being pushed down. Okay, so the bumper is being pushed down. We're now waiting. We got to wait a little bit until it gets pushed back up. So we want to really check this very, very often. Like maybe 20, what is that? That would be 20 times a second. So 20 times a second, we're going to check to see if it got released. Okay. So once again, what's happening here? Our while loop, this while loop right here, up here, this is the one that's actually running the game, it's only going to run everything in this code for 10 seconds. So everything in here from this bracket down to here will run for only 10 seconds. It's going to show us an updated count of bumps every time we loop. It's going to be checking every couple hundred times a second if the bumper got pressed. If it does get pressed, we're going to say wait here, and while the bumper is being pressed, loop here and just wait a little bit. And once we release it, guess what happens? This becomes false, and it skips down here, and it adds 1 to the bump count. Okay? So that should fix our problem, our push and release. So what I'd like you to do right now is I would like you to make sure it works, and then I want to see it, and I'm going to give you a participation grade here if your one player bump works, and we're going to see who can get the highest score in 10 seconds. Okay, so I want to see your high score. Well, whoever wins, I don't have a prize for you, but you get to say you're the best single player bumper in the school district, actually. All right, sound good?